congratulate Leah Bedford for being October in the month. And I also want to let everyone know that on Thursday, having a college career. Thank you. College career. Thursday the 20th.
Scale.
I just want to thank Laura and Alan for coming tonight. I don't want to steal their thunder, but they certainly are unsung heroes. Involved in getting the ball rolling on a lot of things, so thank you.
Mr. McMahon?
Yes, if anybody hasn't seen and noticed, the addition is about 65% done. The biomass is a storage shed. So completion of that probably is going to be in a couple of weeks. We got other jobs in between. They're waiting for doors to come in. So, but that I think looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So far.
Went up quick.
And Mr. Fitzgerald is supposed to be starting the baseball visitors dugout bleacher area Thursday. So I told him I would hold to it. So, other than that, I think that's it.
All right. Lance?
Nothing beyond my written report.
Eric, do you have anything? We'll come back to Eric. Hey, Eric, do you have anything for your report or in addition?
No, nothing at this time, thank you.
Yeah, I'll provide a report later this week. I'll be attending Superintendent's Institute the next 2 days, but I'll be back for the snow on Thursday night.
Sounds
What
good.
do you have to say?
It's not actually going to happen.
So, yeah, I wanted to introduce our guidance counselors. They schedule a meeting several times a year for the administration, members of the community, student representative to go over guidance services, plans and programs, supports, and I thought, I'm impressed with the work that they're doing and the care that they're providing our students. So I wanted them to share a little bit of that with the board. So I'll have them begin their presentation.
Am I in anybody's way? I can sit. I'm a tall one. Okay, well, we're both going to talk about our individual buildings and our individual programs, but we thought first we should take a look at just our overall things that we do from K to 12. So we wanted to look at the services provided. So we do short-term solution-focused individual counseling, which can be somewhat regularly to work on coping skills as well as needs arise. We do our large group lessons, which is a lot of things on careers, but also we touch on social, emotional, and academic school success things. We do consultation with parents and staff when students are struggling. We make referrals to additional supports, which could be in-school supports or out-of-school supports. So we make referrals in school to Friendship House, to our student assistance program, to our school social worker. We facilitate some of those referrals, as well as outside services. So we make referrals to school-based outpatient and provide families with lists of resources when it's needed. We serve on a lot of teams. We serve on teams with the Children and Youth MDT meeting, Friendship House core meetings, and we attend our student assistance program meetings. We assist our students experiencing a crisis, and we fulfill the state requirements of the CEW, the Career and Work Standards benchmarks, and the Future Ready Index. So we're trying to make sure that all of our students have their career readiness artifacts completed for the state, as well as one of the best parts of our job is getting to do monthly recognition. So I love it when I get to go recognize our SWORD Students of the Month. That's one of the best things we get to do, is recognizing our students that are doing a great job, and Ellen can recognize the Students of the Month at the high school as well. So that's just a broad overview we thought we would start with of some of the things that we do. And then I wanted to touch on the Sullivan County Elementary School, the data and the highlights of what I do. And as school counselors, we are counselors, we are educators, and we are advocates for all of our students. The first thing I thought I would take a look at is individual counseling, because that's where I spend most of my time, is doing the individual counseling. And I break that down into ongoing and brief counseling. So my ongoing students are the students that I see regularly to build skills. They are generally referred by teachers or by parents. And then the brief counseling students are the ones that ask to see me if something comes up, or a teacher or administrator calls and says, so-and-so is having a rough day, can you chat with them? So I kind of break it down in those two areas. If we look at the numbers, my regulars hasn't fluctuated a whole lot over the last 5 years, but the students in the brief counseling area has skyrocketed. 5 years ago, I had 115 students sessions, because some of them are repeaters. So I had 115 sessions with students in addition to the ones I was seeing regularly. And then it has grown by 100 to 200 every year for the next couple years. Like I said, those are sessions, not students. We do have some that come back every now and then, even that aren't necessarily my ongoing kids, but just kind of some of the ones that pop in and see me every once in a while.
Do you have, for a session, do you have specific timeframes, or is it could be 5 minutes, or it could be a half hour, it's just dependent upon what it takes, or how do you?
It very much depends on what it is, because the students that ask to see me, if it's a playground thing and it's kind of quick, it could be 10 minutes, but my normal kids that I see regularly, it's usually 20 to 30 minutes to try to build some skills. But then we sometimes have kiddos that are upset that might be in there for 45 minutes. It just totally depends on the situation.
And sometimes even longer, like sometimes it's a half-day thing waiting for parents
Yes.
to come for a full day.
Yes, had one of those not too long ago, 4.5 hours, I believe it
Yeah,
was.
if they're in a
So-
situation where they have to be attended, then they stay with us. So it could be a couple of hours sometimes.
Any trend or reason you're seeing that you went from 115 to 534? Is it because we're making it more visible for the kids?
Well, and that's my next slide, actually.
He's got you covered.
You're thinking here. So when I look at those trends, and I look at the ongoing counseling, which are my regulars, those numbers have remained somewhat consistent, as you'll see in your handout. Which, in a way, I think is kind of surprising, because we have seen the needs increase. But I also think that part of the reason the ongoing referrals has remained somewhat level is because we've provided extra services.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we didn't have that, those numbers also would be skyrocketing. Years ago, we were the only option. So any concerns came to us. And now we have Friendship House, we have the school social worker, we have school-based outpatient as options for kiddos that need more than what we provide. So I think that's why that ongoing number has remained fairly level, is because we can divert things different ways.
Right.
Because some students need more than what we can provide. And it's probably a good thing, because I wouldn't have time for all those students asking to see me if those ongoing numbers had skyrocketed as well. If that makes sense. And then we will look at the brief counseling and why I think that has increased so much. Possible reasons for that jumping a lot is students are reaching out for help. That's a good thing, that they're asking when they need to talk to someone. So I think that's a good thing. So we do have increased need. I think that's one of the reasons the numbers have gone up. That's no surprise. Our students are struggling with emotional self-regulation, and it's across the board in other schools. We see on the news about the youth mental health crisis. Our students are,
Yeah,
you know,
and
they're
Sullivan County
struggling.
isn't the only one affected by this increase.
Yep.
All the counselors that we meet with are having the same increase and probably, and across the country, you hear it in the news.
Right. So I think one of the reasons for those brief numbers popping up so much is increased need. I think a second reason is working really hard to normalize asking for help. When I go into the classrooms at the beginning of the year and I remind the kids what I do, how to reach me, we talk a lot about the fact that I'm here if you need me, that's why I'm here. Don't be afraid to ask. And we talk about the fact that every single person in the building struggles sometimes. We all do. So it's perfectly fine to ask for help, and I remind them how to do that. So I think the normalizing that and working really hard to let kids know it's okay to ask for help could be another reason that those numbers have gone up. And then the digital accessibility. My office has moved, and so I'm now in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade hallway. That was several years ago. But I think just being right there as the kids come in from recess, they stop in and, hey, Mrs. Feaster, can you see me? Yes, sure. Maybe not this minute, but I'll write your name down and get to you in a little bit. As well as the digital request form that I created. I created a Google form that has made it very easy for students to just sit at their desk, fill out a Google form, and then I get an email that they need to see me. So I think those things combined are some of the reasons why we've seen the brief numbers pop up so much.
Yeah, on my end, students email me more so. I don't need to use the form because they know how to do it. So they
Yep.
just email me directly.
Mhm.
Can I come down? Yes, I'll come get you.
What are the things that you're seeing that you're counseling the students on for the ongoing kids?
She's got you covered on that too.
So that's the numbers that we're seeing, but then to take a look at what we're focusing on would be the ongoing counseling. The top 3 counseling session focus areas were coping self-regulation skills, which were 29.9%, anxiety, which was 23%, and behavior concerns, which is 12.3%. However, some of those behavior concerns are in that self-regulation piece because that's what we work on a lot with the ongoing counseling. So self-regulation, anxiety, and behavior were the top 3 in the ongoing. And then in the brief, social issues, peer relationships were 29.8%. So that's a third of them. And then mental health related 11.2% and anxiety 10%. So a third of those extras were social skills. So it's, students are struggling at recess, they want help working out a problem with a friend. I'll be sitting working with a student and I'll hear the kids come in from recess and then my computer's blowing up with Google request forms because it was a rough recess and they needed to chat. So, the social skills social relationships is the big thing with the brief. And then self-regulation and anxiety were the big ones for ongoing.
Mr. Velocity just pointed out, he did some quick math, and the amount of hours that you guys have to focus in on this is overwhelming. So we start doing the numbers for 30 minutes. I know some are less, some are more, but
Yeah,
It's immense.
keeps us hopping. So that's kind of the individual counseling piece, and then I wanted to take a look at 2 slides on career awareness and 2 on some projects that I've been doing. So career awareness, the state focuses a lot on career awareness, so I did want to talk about that for 2 slides. So we are using Smart Futures, which looks at who I am, where I'm going, and how I'll get there. So at the elementary level, it's a lot on who I am. It's interests and skills, and what are you good at, and what are you like to do. But we do some, where am I going? We look at career clusters, how will I get there, what kind of schooling I might need to do that. We just don't dive real deep into that. It's kind of an overview. So we started Smart Futures in 2022, 2023. We've been doing career awareness activities since 2006 when the standards came out. So that's nothing new. And we've been monitoring our career evidence since 1819 when Future Ready Index included the Career Readiness Indicator. So doing these lessons is nothing new, but Smart Futures has really streamlined it a lot because it tracks all the activities for us, and we can very quickly see who needs extra makeup sessions. So it's a Pennsylvania digital career awareness program that's aligned with our Pennsylvania career and work standards. So when we started looking into this, we looked at Zello and we looked at Smart Futures. We went with Smart Futures because it's based in Pennsylvania and it's based on Pennsylvania standards.
They have a fantastic team running Smart Futures. I don't know if any of you know a lot about it, but they are fantastic. They don't just run this program. They go to Harrisburg and push when the standards are being looked at. They're fantastic. And they take a lot of suggestions from all of us. I shot 3 suggestions. The lead guy was at the conference I was just at last week. And I ran into him. I said, I need you to work on this, this, and this. He said, shoot me an email. He already sent me an email back saying, we're already working on number 1 and number 2. They're really responsive to all of us and to our needs.
Yes, they're wonderful. So it covers all of the benchmarks of the standards with 15, 16 activities and a grade band. I don't do all of the activities because some of the standards at the elementary level house money used. I know that's being covered in math. So I kind of look at and hit the ones that I don't think are being covered other areas. The format of it is that they watch a very short video clip. It's just a couple minutes. Then there's an interactive piece where they do some sort of activity, and then they do a reflection about what they've learned. It's portable between districts, which is wonderful. So if a kiddo moves to us from another district and they use Smart Futures in their district, it comes with them. We can log in and see what they've done. And I'm using it in 3rd through 6th grades. While it's set up for K to 6, when I went to the Pennsylvania School Counselors Conference and went to the Smart Futures booth, she said, I would start with 3rd. So that's what I did. I was going to do it with 2nd, but the typing and the reflection is a lot for the little ones to try to type. So we're doing it in 3rd through 6th in the elementary school. And the best part is the software will be updated to reflect the new standards when they come out. We won't have to reinvent the wheel and scramble to find activities. They will make those changes in their software, which will be nice when those new standards come into effect. So I did include the activity journal because I thought if we're going to talk about Smart Futures, I would show you what the kids are doing. So you have activity journals from that our students have done. It's the one with the yellow top. And then just a couple other career awareness things that I'm doing at the elementary level is a few years ago I started a First Fridays initiative where I'd gone to a conference and got the idea, and I created 63 career awareness activities for our students to do. And the first Friday of each month, I invite the teachers to wear a college and career shirt, do a 10 to 20 minute career awareness activity. It may not be happening every month in every room, but whatever extra we can give our kids is great. Some teachers will wait and have it be a fun end of the year thing, and then they'll do a couple of them in a row, and they send the activities to me to put in their career portfolio. So I did include also the handout of what those activities are at the top of the 3-page packet. The Northern Tier Career Center awareness. A few years ago, we started taking our 5th graders up to tour the programs. We do that in December, and I think that's a very valuable activity for our kids to be able to see what's happening up there. And I included some awareness in 4th and 5th grade First Fridays about the Career Center. So that's always a great trip. The kids, I think, really enjoy. They get to pound hammers and actually be kind of hands-on in some of the programs. So it's neat for them to get to see what they might be able to do. And then our careers bulletin board, we have some fun with. At the beginning of the year, I do kind of an interactive bulletin board. So we did look at the jobs we dreamed about as kids. So I put the blank photo mat up with the speech bubble of what job a teacher had had, and the kids had to try to guess who had which job, and then I'd pop a couple pictures up at a time. So that was kind of fun. And then we've done what teachers wanted to be when they were young, and then this year we did what our 6th graders want to be when they grow up. So that's kind of how we start the year, and then throughout the rest of the year we do career clusters or Holland types, just some general information. So that's our careers, and then I have 2 slides on just some projects that I've started in the last couple years. Calm Corners. I had started seeing some information about counselors putting together calm corners with some sensory items and some visual coping tools. And the rationale is when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, our brain shifts to that fight or flight response, and it limits access to that higher order thinking, which is what we see with some of our kiddos when they become very dysregulated, is they're not thinking clearly. So just having some sensory tools to kind of get them to settle back down, get in a calmer state so that they're able to problem solve. So in 21-22, I created a calm corner in my office. So I put together some sensory items, some coping tools on rings, just to try to give them some additional tools that they can use to get calm so we could talk things out. And the students responded well to that. So in 22-23, I did classroom calm corners where I created calm corners for any teachers that wanted one, and they ran with it. I had 17 teachers do fabulous jobs with, I just provided them the bin with the sensory items, as well as some things from Teachers Pay Teachers about posters they could put up in their corner. I did put some pictures in there and feedback from the teachers in your packet, so you can see what that looked like. It's like any intervention, works for some of the students, some of the time, not all of the students all of the time, but any additional things we can do to help our kids, I think, is worthwhile. I was fortunate to be able to be allotted some Title IV money that paid for that project and the next project that I'm going to discuss. So my last piece tonight is I saw some things a year or so ago about a counselor doing grief kits for students experiencing loss, and when I saw that, I really wanted to implement something similar here. So I spent time over the summer researching some materials to use and implemented that this year. So students that need to see me for grief could get a comfort kit, and it has things like grief coloring pages, crayons, a little notebook where they could do some drawing, a children's book, breathing stickers, tissues, a little pocket hug or pocket bear hug, coping skills cards of things they can do when they're upset to feel better, stress ball, grief pamphlet, and information for the parents. So, yep. So I did bring a kit just to pass around so you can see what types of things I included. So when it's a big kit, you know, I check with the parents, see if they're interested in that, and I send the big kit home. I have found that I've also used it just a little pocket bear hug when some of the kids are having a rough day. It's got a cute little saying in it, just like, you're gonna be okay, and it's got a teddy bear that's that big. Like, so I use the entire kit for some students, but then other ones I might just use a little piece of it. So that's my big project for this year.
They're very nice, and it's not to mention the whole cabinet you have full that I can borrow from too, which I had to last week, so good to know that it was over there.
So that's all I have.
All right, we're going to jump into the high school, but before we get that, we're going to talk about the supports that both Laura and I get to enjoy and utilize on both sides of the building, and that's the list that you see up there in front of you. Victim Services comes and works with students on both sides of the building, doing both classroom lessons and meeting with kids individually if they have the proper paperwork done to do that. Our school social worker is here 3 days a week. That means I talk to her 3 days a week. So we touch base and see who she's working with, and if I need her to bump somebody up the list, she rearranges her schedule. She is so responsive to our kids and helpful to us that I can't say enough about that. If I could have 3 of her, that'd be great, because she really is awesome. We also have Concern, school-based outpatient, which is an outside therapist who will come to our building. Concern was given a space a couple years back, I think the year before, about 4 years now, that they can use in our building to see their clients. So that works out fantastic for our families who can't get their children to an appointment that's somewhere else. So other agencies do come as well. Northern Tier Counseling comes. As long as they have the right releases, we're going to find them a space so that they can work with our kids. But Concern is scheduled here regularly every Friday, and they'll have days every other Monday.
That has helped our outcomes with our student assistance
Yes.
program too, that we are having kids get services on the tail end, because we used to do our SAP and there'd be a recommendation and then the follow through was kind of rough,
and we have to
whereas we're seeing better follow through with that.
Yeah, and we have to report out for student assistance if it was followed through, and a lot of times they weren't able to. Not that they didn't necessarily want to, but they weren't able to, and now they're able to. So that works out great for the SAP as well. Friendship House, 5 days a week. So they are here. They're helping us 5 days a week, help kids who are having behavioral problems, emotional problems. It's just a place the kids on my side of the building are able to come down and say, hey, can I see so-and-so? If they're free, they'll come over. If not, they stay with me till we can get them free. But that's working out as well. Concerns also has a local office in Mildred. I should have kind of had that slide together there. Besides being here, she's right in Mildred. How that works out great for us is, one, that's in county for our kids that do want to drive and be off campus to have their therapy sessions. So it's right there. And two, we've been able to call her and say, hey, can you come over? We had a student, I think I was tied up with one, and we had another student, Laura wasn't here. We needed a crisis evaluation. She came, she was able to clear her schedule and come over. So that works out really well for us too. Laura already mentioned our student assistance program and our amazing staff. I don't have a high school teacher out there that won't communicate with me and tell me when they think I need to see a kid, won't do something for a kid when I ask, or say, hey, I need to push into your classroom, can I? Yep, go ahead. So the staff is great, okay? So now I'm gonna talk about some of the highlights from the high school and throw a different set of numbers at you, okay? So first of all, the high school guidance office is not just me, it's me and my secretary, Ashley Wade. She started with us last year and she is fantastic. She is my right arm already and doing a great job. And just like Laura's graphic was student-centered, we are always student-centered. I just kind of put that out there, but you can see the other parts of it that I need to work with to make sure all of those are student-centered, that all of our post-secondary programs are student-centered and all our business and community, like they're all coming in tomorrow. No, Thursday. Get what day of the week it is sometimes. So here are some of the highlights. I wanted to focus on my big three. Those are the ones in red, because those are some numbers I really want to share with you, and then just touch on the last two quickly as well, because they're a big part of our day. With dual enrollment, okay? So first of all is our partners. We have 3 dual enrollment partners. I think you've probably seen them in reports before, but they are Penn College, Keystone, and Lackawanna. Did they all go right? Yes, they did. Okay. So our classes, we have 27 total classes right now in the high school that are dual enrollment, meaning students can earn college credit in 27 different classes here. It's 1 credit with us, like biology, the AP biology class. It's actually 8 college credits. So each class has an alignment. I did give you guys a handout. I have here too. It's one with lots of red on it. That shows all of our dual enrollment classes. So you can kind of see what classes and what they align to credit-wise, okay? And almost in every department, I've got 1 to go. And I think that's important. When dual enrollment first started, I'll tell you, it was in 04, 05, we had 1 class and it was a computer technology class. And that started the ball rolling. We loved it. We got new computer labs, remember Doug? We got new computer labs out of it. We got it with Penn College paying for that. So that was fantastic. But I'm like, wait a minute, why just computers? And Penn College started building their program, so we started building ours. At Penn College, we have to focus on mostly technology. We can have core, like English, math, and science, but we can't go over. We can't have more core than technology. So we started looking for another partner. So we brought Keystone in. You'll see Keystone's on the list with a lot of classes. And we've also brought in Lackawanna to build just a little bit more flexibility. My thing was, why are we just doing it for the kids who are sitting in AP classes, which is where Keystone started? What about these kids who only go through trig, they don't get to AP Calc? That's a college level math. So we started building and building. We even have dual enrollment down in the shop because those students deserve it as well. They might go on to a shop-related post-secondary program and those college credits count. So that's why we build it into almost every department, 1 to go, and the core and technical and elective coursework. It's not just core and technical that I was talking about. There's some elective coursework as well that count as dual enrollments and do great transferring over as general eds. I'm going to show you a little bit about that in the next slide. Oh, there it is. Penn College has 12. You don't have it in front of you. Keystone has 11, and Lackawanna currently has 4. Lackawanna's on board to bring us another math. We might be able to get it in this year, so you might see it coming through.
Which department do you still have to do?
I don't have anything. It's actually, I guess it's technically 2 departments, but I don't have anything in art and music.
Okay.
So I'm going there next, because I think that's a great elective to move in as a gen ed somewhere.
Now, these schools being accredited, these college course credits they're getting, do they transfer them to other schools, or do they have
Anywhere, all over the country. Anywhere and all over the country, and I'm investigating now whether they can go international, because we do have a foreign exchange student who's sitting in a dual enrollment class, so we're working on it.
On the Penn College, it's 12. Some of them have a line through them.
They are not running this year, just because the student balance is this year.
It might be an every other year course.
Yeah. I try not to take them off so they don't accidentally get off the form the following
So
year.
there's 10 running.
10 running this year. Yeah, 10 running this year.
So when they're crossed off like this, does that mean that the class isn't happening at all, or just we don't have the
Those
dual enrollment?
those classes didn't run lack of interest on the student part. And we see that in cycles. We'll see it run 1 year, and if a lot of juniors and seniors take it, if it's really, really big that year, the next year it might drop off a little bit, and then it'll come back up.
So
But you have to have a teacher that's
Certified.
certified and qualified
Yes.
by the college.
Yeah, I can
ready
tell
to
you.
teach it.
I can tell you a little bit about that. Penn College is the most rigorous. They have to have been on board with us for over a year. They have to have a master's or a master's equivalency. They will look at experience, but it's tough to get them through. And they have to have some, they have to submit their whole resume and their transcript and have the credentials. They have to do an interview with Penn College to be approved, and a lot of our teachers have to submit videos of themselves teaching. So it's very, very rigorous at the Keystone level, or at the Penn College level. The Keystone level also reviews their transcripts and their credentials. They don't ask for the lesson and the videotape, and they are a little bit more willing to work with us in a pinch. Like with Penn College, I can talk to the manufacturing and construction. That's why we couldn't run this one this year. When our teacher that was already qualified left, you cannot ask to have a brand new teacher to the district vetted. They won't do it until they're with us for a year. So we had to take a year off for that one.
And what is the minimum number of students to run a class?
That's up to the administration. So
If it hasn't been offered, or if it hasn't run for a couple of years, and we only have 2 kids that are interested, and that's the direction they're going, we'll run it.
Okay.
But, you know, it depends on how often
Right.
we're running it.
And
if juniors and seniors were able to sign up 1 year, and maybe a junior's not going to get it that year, but we'll run it the next year so they can.
yeah, if we know they can still ask for it the next year, that kind of weighs into that decision.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, but
We only have so many teacher spots to teach.
Right.
So we have to make decisions
right.
based on what could happen next year, what they ask for.
Yeah, and I will tell you, Lackawanna is very responsive and flexible with us. They say, if you tell me that teacher knows what they're doing, and I looked at their syllabus, and I think the syllabus looks great, we're gonna go with that. So they're super flexible. All right, now, I wanna talk about the dollars, because I need to just move back and look at them myself. This is, if you take a look, what this is, each partner. Keystone, this is this year's data. Keystone students are signed up for 170 college credits this year, okay? That's the cost to the families for that. Keystone charges $100 per credit. I'm standing there, wait a second. Okay? So it's $17,000 cost to our families. If you take Keystone's credit course for the on-campus, the college students themselves, that's what the math equals out to. So it's a huge savings to our families. There you see Penn College, and you see that it costs $0 to the families. It actually also costs $0 to the district. Years ago, Penn College negotiated that the students didn't have to pay anything, that we would pay a fee. So it comes out of the guidance budget. I think it was up to $2,500 was the last fee we paid, because it's based on the number of courses we run. So they said, that's the way we're going to do it. Doesn't cost the families anything. That worked really great. Then they found Cortera Energy, and for the last, is this the 3rd year, Lance? 3rd year, I think? I think it's the 3rd year that Cortera Energy has been paying our fee, so it doesn't come out of my budget anymore either. So that's totally free to all of us. And Lackawanna, we have 38. Remember, they only have 4 courses, so we have 38 credits going out to Lackawanna. That's the cost to families, also $100 a credit, and I use their credit. I think Keystone is like $650, Penn College $608, and Lackawanna $625. If you're just taking a credit there. Okay, so that's the numbers. But I want to show you why it makes even more sense. And that's a lot of money that our families are saving, but that's per credit. It really makes a difference when it takes up a whole semester or a whole year.
Ellen, you want to mention about last year, the grant?
Oh, last year, all those columns, cost of families, was a 0. They were all paid for by a grant. It was a lot of paperwork to get it all done, but paid all the Keystone bill and paid all of the Lackawanna bill. And as a parent of a senior, I'm really sad that my son didn't take more last year instead of this year. But that's just the way it is. It's the way the cookie crumbles, so that's all right, okay? So I want to show you how it makes even more sense, though. If you look at this, these are just 3 different places I know students have started college as a sophomore because of all other dual enrollment credits. The tuition per year at those schools are listed, plus the fees, plus the room and board, plus the total. When you take enough to make up a semester, or in this case, a whole year, that's how much you save. Not just $100 credit, not just any of that.
Per kid.
Per kid, room and board. So I can show you with George Mason specifically, that's why it has a little asterisk up there. When I put this up, that student that took a year off his tuition and saved around probably 55 when you consider getting there and back and forth and all that stuff, because that's out of state. I put up there an out of state one for you so you can see, because it does go out of state. He paid $1,600 for dual enrollment. They saved $55,000. So that's where it makes a lot of sense. That's why dual enrollment is such a good program and why I will always continue to try to build it if we can.
And if I put on my mom hat, my son shaved a semester off of his college. He got a bachelor's in chemistry at Wilkes and did it in 3.5 years because of the dual enrollment.
Yep.
Which is nice.
So what's in it for the universities that are offering it, when it can be transferred?
Okay, so that's a good question. And when it first started, it was promotional on their part. They were trying to draw students in. Penn College wanted to draw our students into their building. It does draw some of them, because Penn College gets, if there's a most for us, because usually we have one here and one there and one here and one there. But if there's a most, Penn College is usually it, okay? So drawing students down to them, that's part of it. It is also income with no overhead for them. Even though it's not a lot, the $100 a credit, it's income with no overhead. They didn't really, other than vetting our teacher, putting that time in, doing the paperwork.
They don't have to pay the
They're not
professor.
paying a teacher to teach it, we are. So it saves them that money.
I think fundamentally when it started, it was the 2 + 2.
Yes. Yes, that's what it was called.
There was a big grant at Penn State when they were looking at their nanofabrication labs, right? The labs that they were building out there. The issue is when you have students come in and they have all this high technology to work with, now the kids don't even touch it for the first year because they're taking all these freshman courses. So to matriculate these kids through the program, essentially, they're starting the second year, so they're starting with the meat of the subject instead of taking, English 101 and your history and
They're more
all these
likely to
other
stay.
prerequisite courses. So that means that kids are going to school and they're staying because they're maintaining their interest.
Yeah.
So, if we want to look at this fundamentally, it's really to get kids through college. Because the first year is the year that most kids opt out of college.
Yeah.
And
And
get them through that
yeah.
first year with the supports we have in school here and get them to school and they're taking these higher level courses, then their interest
Yeah.
is maintained.
Yeah, and the studies show students that do concurrent enrollment, that's the other word you'll hear for it besides dual, it's called concurrent, are more likely to graduate from college. That's just what the studies do show, 100%. And I did have a lengthy discussions with Penn College when they started adding in academics instead of just technical. Because if we were doing all technical and no academics, they'd get there and they'd be stuck in all, well, you were saying the freshman courses, they were stuck in English and science and history. That's not what they wanted to do. So that's why Penn College, not because of me, but that discussion is why Penn College opened up the door to do academics as well. Okay. Any other questions about dual enrollment? Because it is a big deal to our families. Okay. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is off-campus experiences. These are very important to me at the high school because that's, in my mind, the best way to learn is to get out there and see it and do it and get your hands into it and do all that kind of stuff. So these are just some of the places we went. We already did Green Career Day this year. That was up at Mount Pisgah. That's open to the 8th grade. I gotta turn my page so I can stay with you guys. That's open to the 8th grade, and we've been going up there for quite a few years now. DCNR puts that on. Northern Tier Regional Planning and Development Commission pays for the bus for us. No, DCNR pays that bus. They paid other buses. So we try to keep the cost minimum to our families and students as well and to the district. We went to the Mansfield College Fair. That's juniors and seniors. We take them up, and it's not just to see Mansfield. It's to get them on a college campus because that's important. But it's a college fair. Their whole gym is filled with colleges, military recruiters, the local union and apprenticeship programs are there. So it's a big day up at Mansfield, and then they get a tour of campus. So that they get their feet and see what it's like on a college campus, okay? PA Build My Future is one that we run out of the shop. And then we go, that's open to usually 10 through 12. If there's still room, they sometimes open up to the younger students. That's just to get them down onto Penn College's campus and have them do hands-on activities. The kids love it. They do masonry, they built a stone wall, they do all kinds of stuff down at Penn College. We also have the trips up to Northern Tier Career Center. I'm gonna go right, Laura takes the 5th grade up. With the 8th graders this year, we're gonna actually have our students present here. Because when we go up to Northern Tier Career Center, they don't actually see our students in action that much. They might, but their tour guides are from other schools sometimes, there's other kids. So I want our kids in here. We've done that before, and the kids really respond to that. Our students respond to hearing their own students talk. And to see the VOTEC students come and present, because that's usually not their thing, but they love it because they're talking about what they love to do. So that works out really well as well. And the 10th graders go up in shadow. They get to spend the whole day, the whole morning up there, okay? Next one up is the career fair that we go to up in Towanda. That's put on by Jody McCarty and the Northern Tier Regional Planning and Development Commission. We've been doing that for a lot of years, and that's a career fair for the 9th grade. We take students down to the UPMC Career Expo, mostly students interested in health sciences, health services, but there's other things there. They have their table with their human resources folks and their business department, and even their environmental, which years ago would have been called their maintenance department. So there's lots of things there to do. Penn College has us down 4 times in a year now for the advanced manufacturing program. We took their interests, and it was a pilot year last year. We had 10 students involved in the program. Some of it's online, but they like the on-campus part a lot better, the 4 trips down. The important news there is that was advanced manufacturing production. This year they're going to allow me to enroll, if they're interested, students from last year into robotics this year, which will be really cool. The only thing is they don't have lab days set up for that, so they're going to work with me and help me find employers that will maybe let us tour their facilities. So we're working on that. We have the RotoFest. That's another trip down to Penn College that we run. We run right over to the courthouse. We take a short trip over for the IDD, Intellectual Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. I think it's important we do take our students that have disabilities, but I also think it's very important that our regular ed students go and support them, so we take regular ed students over every year as well. That's one of my personal favorites. And the PA State Police down in Montoursville Barracks has invited us down 2 years running, going on 3 now, to take students interested in criminal justice. So we try to make sure that we're hitting lots of different interests, all the different grade levels if we can. And some of them we do a little bit more, like those 3 with the light bulbs. I don't like taking a bus out and not getting the most out of it and going out and coming back in a half a day. I like to take them out and expose them to more. So when we go to the UPMC, for example, we also stop at Lake Cumming College and tour their campus. When we go up to Northern Tier Career Center, we stop at Unity Lab and check out their facility. And when we go to the career fair up in Towanda, we've done a couple different things. We've hit Unity Lab. We've also just stopped right at Peeler Hall and invited guest speakers in to talk to them at the hall and have lunch. So that's kind of how we run our field trips. There's more that pop up every year. Sometimes it's just a yearly thing. Hey, we're doing this. Sometimes it's annual. Any questions about field trips before I move on?
What's the leadership one? I didn't see that one on there.
Oh, youth leadership. I don't put that on as a field trip, and I apologize because you are involved in that. But we don't take them, so I don't put that on as a field trip. What he's asking about is the Penn College Youth Leadership Program. Every year, the staff is allowed to nominate 3 students to go down to Penn College once a month for leadership programming, and they actually go out into the community down in Lake Cumming County and do different projects, and then there's a culminating banquet at the end to highlight what they did in the course of the year. So we do have 3 students. They will go tomorrow down to Penn College and do the youth leadership program. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. All right, with our scholarships, it is my personal goal to make sure our scholarship numbers go up every single year. The economy steps in once in a while and makes that almost impossible, but we do try to keep building the program. We are already on target this year with a new donor in line to kind of add to our program. So hopefully we will go up just a little bit again this year. It also depends on the class size. There's not a lot of students, some of the little bit less go out. The program has started to build upon itself, and I think just because of just our graduation and people hearing it, and we've already have now students who got scholarships giving scholarships, which is fantastic. Okay, and 23-24 was our biggest year ever. So I made it the biggest number on the slide. That's the dollar amount that went out at graduation in 23-24. Yes, I was very excited about it, so I did all this to it too. That's a big number, and it's really fantastic. The donors are great. Some of the donors try to keep in touch with the kids through their college experience. If it's a 4-year scholarship, they want to mentor them. They want to know about their successes. I have one gentleman who still to this day watches the live feed and texts me all through graduation. He's been doing this for about 6 years now. I'm trying to watch, I'm trying to pay attention, stop. But the donors really like being donors.
And so that doesn't happen in other districts. And we have a small class size, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I will say there is a big chunk that are 2 main scholarships. And 2 very, very, well, one very, very generous person and a generous group that do that. So those numbers and so those kind of numbers sometimes do depend on the economy. Any questions about scholarships? Okay. Future Ready Index, go through real quick because Laura already touched on the career stuff. So I'm going to kind of put this up here. Okay. I will tell a funny story while I'm putting these up here, and you can take a look at them. Is that the last one? Oops, last one. We are, and Laura was too, way ahead of the Future Ready Index. When did you say it started? 1819?
1819 was when they started collecting or requiring the artifacts,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
the CEW standards were 2006.
My
so
first
it's been
job-
a long time.
My first job in education was career coordinator. I didn't have a counseling degree yet, but I was working out in the counseling office. And the principal walked up, and I won't say exactly what year it was, because it was a lot of years ago. I've been here for 20, you guys. So it was before that. So over 20 years ago, walked up to me, when my very first day as hired as career coordinator, and he walked over to me and he said, every kid in the building needs to have a career portfolio. And he handed me a folder. And I opened it, and that's what it said. And I said, Dave, it's empty. And he said, that's your job, and walked away with a grin on his face. That was 20-some years ago. I've been working with students, and they've had career portfolios for 20 years here and 27 where I was. Now, they're a lot more complex now than they used to be because we've got this, and we've got Smart Futures that Laura was talking about, so we have the electronic piece as well. Laura and I are both pretty adamant that we don't ever want to just be all electronic with Smart Futures. The kids need experiences. They need to do these things, not just on the computer. Smart Futures does allow us to upload these into the computer, but that's challenging. That's a lot of uploading, even for the kids to do. So we still have these binders, and the kids love getting these binders back and seeing them, because this picture is what they draw in 8th grade. And they look at it and they go, oh my gosh, they have to draw 3 interests from 8th grade. This particular student was interested in soccer, liked Adidas wear, and hunting and fishing. Anybody know that student from the high school? I did have to grab my son's own, so I didn't grab anybody else's. The reason Laura and I don't want to go to all Smart Futures, because that's an easy way out. It will show the number of artifacts, right? So I'm going to put you guys to the test. To understand creation versus consumption, and I'm going to hurry because I know we're taking up too much time now, but creation versus consumption, and I have shared this with my kids. I'm not gonna, if you want me to read it for the audience that's on the computer, I will. Do you need me to or not? And I've shared this with 9th grade students. The difference between creation dopamine and consumption dopamine. Notice that very last line. That's one of our biggest battles with our kids. It's keeping them off of passive activities with excessive screen time. The bottom line is it means this. Creating something yourself or actively engaging in an activity tends to provide a more effective dopamine hit than simply consuming something pre-made. And my principal very smartly said, Ellen, what is that? But so what? What do you mean by that? What that means to me and to Laura is that if they're not getting enough creation dopamine, they struggle with goal setting and career development. And that's why we want to take them off campus. That's why we want to do career stuff in the classrooms, not just on the computer, if that makes sense to everybody. Keep paying the Smart Futures bill because we need that. We do. Don't stop paying for it. But we still need to be in the classrooms with them and getting them as many experiences as we can.
And at the elementary level, our Smart Futures, we do it together.
Yeah.
So we hit play, so they watch the short video, but we do a lot of talking.
Yeah,
During
and
the
we do as
lesson,
well.
too.
Barb Knapp handles the Smart Futures, our career coach, handles our Smart Futures at the high school, which is a godsend to me because she goes out into the 7th and 9th grade, hits both bands, 6 to 8 and 7 to 9, or 9 to 12 are the 2 bands that I'm responsible for at the tail end of it. So she does that work, but the kids still need those experiences. All right, Act 158. I'm just going to put it all up there so we can hurry you along a little bit. It's that graduation pathway. Students need 3 things to graduate. They need their credits, their academics. They need their graduation, their career portfolio work, because that's their culminating project is their career work, and they have to hit that pathway. So the pathways is either through the testing, primarily the Keystone. If they don't get through on the Keystone, it's alternate testing. We look at those. They also can get a pathway from the CTE, from Northern Tier Career Center, and then we also have evidence-based pathways. That information is in your packet to look at and see what those pathways are all about. But some examples are for the evidence-based, because that's the tougher one for the kids to get. They have to have 3 pieces of evidence. Everything above that, CTE, is just 1 piece of evidence. Okay? So we use acceptance to post-secondary programs, guarantee of full-time employment. You can see them up there. There's different things. And I can kind of tell you real quick how last year's class did. We had 15 use testing, Keystone testing. We had 8 get their their pathway through the CTE, through Northern Tier Career Center. We had 10 use what's called alternate testing. From that, 5 had the score that they needed on the ASVAB. That's why we're still going to give that ASVAB. That and a lot of other reasons. 1 got the right score on the SAT to use, which if they're not great at standardized testing, that's quite an accomplishment. 2 used passing a dual enrollment course, so that's part of it. 1 used the PSAT, and actually that student had PSAT and ASVAB. And 1 matriculated into a 4-year program. That counts as well. They went into a 4-year program. So we do need all those pathways for our kids to meet all of their needs. And we track them in a big giant spreadsheet and get there.
What is the service learning project?
The service learning project, the students have to commit to, it's just 10 hours. It has to be supervised. We have to make sure that the supervisor has clearances, go through all of that. But there's lots of ways that they can do that. For example, our kids that do go down to the food pantry, those hours can count. They have to do a little extra documentation more so than their peers would have to do, but that can count. They can volunteer for the fire companies, they can volunteer for 4-H, all different things. But that is one that the state will accept. We just have to make sure we document it.
So that's like the traditional senior project that used to be in play? Like
That we used to have, yes,
Okay.
very much like
Probably
that.
not as involved as that senior project used to be.
No, no, I think we have
But if
required
they
30 hours
use
for that.
The evidence-based pathway, they have to have 3 pieces of evidence, so 3
Yeah,
of those things.
so it can't be just that. All right. So that's the end of our program.
wow.
All right, I'll get out of your way so you can get back to your seat.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I do have one question that not now, but I have a bunch of questions. Can I reach out to you guys at some point, or
Yep.
what's the best way to, because if I dig into a movie, it's really good stuff.
Hey, Gabe.
Yeah, 87.
Go ahead, I'll be right back.
Yep. I used to do the tours for people. Yep.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll just take a quick 5-minute for folks that have to take a little break.
Can't hold the water.
Thank you for the time y'all put into the presentation.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. Yeah, and
Yeah, there's for sure stuff on there that I did not realize.
yeah, it makes me really proud to be part of the district. Like, this is really comprehensive and fantastic to know this is how we take care of our kids. Not that detailed, but
Wetlands, what? Are you taking this? You know what?
Are you trying to make a fashion statement now?
No, I broke my toe.
Did a wall jump out in
I'm
front
a
of
little
you?
klutzy because actually when I went up there and realized the one
That was coming through good, Eric. That was coming through good. The presentation, the sound.
It's a little fuzzy at first. Cable.
We can circle back to it if necessary. I would say move forward.
Okay.
Finance.
Finance. Item A, Finance Committee recommends acceptance of the following reports. One, the Treasurer's Report, number 4, Capital Reserve Fund, October, Capital Projects Fund, October, Cafeteria Fund, October, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item B, the Finance Committee recommends approval of the following check registers in the October budget summary. One register I want to call attention to here, 1118 register for $153,192.65. That's what's went out to outside cyber schools and charter schools for the 1 month for it from us. Okay.
So it just started, normally that was included with the board batch, which was dated the day of the board meeting. I asked Mrs. Burkholder to pull those out of our typical board batch and have that set the day prior to the board meeting as a separate check register, so that way it was very apparent to you as board members, each month what was going out. We started it last month, I just forgot to mention it. So if you take a look at last month's meeting, that's actually the payment that went out for July, August, and September, because it hit you for those first 3 months of the year all at once. But so that's how we'll have that separated out going forward, just so you can see the impact of that. And with that check register, I also provided a summary sheet that showed how many students were at each individual program or organization, what we'd be paying them this month, and what their annual receipt has been so far this year. Item N in finance is also that was sent out last week. That's the PD 363, which sets our tuition rates for the 24-25 year, and for just for the record, it's over $18,000 per regular ed student and $47,000 for a special ed student, regardless of the amount of services or quality of services that they're being provided.
A student who receives speech and language support services only would cost the same as a student with significant multiple disabilities.
So
Real vague number. Are we 25, 35 students attending cyber charter?
50.
50.
Yeah. So this is an important component of the budgeting discussion last year. There's a lot of talk about them fixing that expense side when they were also changing the revenue side, but they did not do so.
Okay. Any other discussion on it? All right, the total is $1,500,646.31. I so move.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item C, the Finance Committee recommends approval of the following payments requests from MHE Engineering. One, MHE Engineering Services Athletic Entrance, $20,715.88. Two, MHE Engineering Services EV Ponds Review of the Steel, $5,968. Three, MHE Engineering Services EV Ponds Review of the Steel, $764. Item 4, LTS Plumbing Payment Number 8, Athletic Entrance, $20,000. electrical payment number 3, Valley Entrance, $76,461.26. 6, Vixen AC&R, payment number 10, athletic entrance, $33,321.25. 7, Elms, payment number 11, athletic entrance, $345,917.80. Nice so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
D, Finance Committee recommends the resolution number 2024-4 be adopted, certifying that real estate tax millage for the 2025-2026 fiscal year will not exceed the allowable Act 1 index of 4%. I so moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
E, the Finance Committee recommends the adoption of the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget development calendar, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Item F, Finance Committee recommends approval of an agreement with the school police officer, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
G, the Finance Committee recommends acceptance of a donation, $750 from the Hunters Festival to the Ski Club, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
H, Finance Committee recommends acceptance of a donation of $750 from the Hunters Festival to SOAR program, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I, the Finance Committee recommends acceptance of a donation of $1,787.07 from the 414 cruisers to the Sullivan County High School class of 2025. I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry. J, the administration recommends acceptance of a donation of $500 to the Hunters Festival, the Art Festival, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
K, administration recommends acceptance of a donation of $1,000 from the Loyal Sock Foundation to the Ski Club, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
L, information, donations were received for the Hillary Kitchen Memorial Award, memory of Barbara Kitchen. And we've already went over, Lance already discussed, and it's the information that he already.
And I should note for M, regarding the quote for roof repairs, I would like to thank Tremco. They did get us quotes at the end of last week on a very tight timeline, but I'd like to have Mr. Audi review the agreement for the public school facility improvement grant, make sure that the details from the quotes match. There's some language in there regarding, from the state regarding requirements for non-discrimination clauses that need to be in the quote. I want to make sure everything's lined up there. Those prices that they locked in for us are good for a year, so it's not like, the quotes expire on Thanksgiving Day. But that being said, we still want to move in fairly quick order.
We'll have it in the December meeting.
Yeah, to make sure that that we can get on the books to those contractors so we can get that done, and just to make sure it's on the record. I know we talk about this every year, but the Act 1 resolution does not require us to go to that number. That is just the maximum millage percentage increase that's allowed under law when we pass that resolution, which for the upcoming fiscal year would be approximately $400,000, which we have programmed in contract projected salary increases and insurance and benefits as well. So that's really the only dial that we as an organization have on the revenue side for one of the main ones, and that's where that locks us in.
Okay, that should be it for finance.
All right. Actually, thanks again, BoFest, Loyalsock Foundation, and the donors that put money forth for the Hillary Kitchen Memorial. Always super helpful to, these clubs and different organizations inside the district. No other questions. We'll move on to athletics and health.
I would like to move on items A through F.
Second.
Motions for A through F and a second. Any questions on any of those before we move forward? If no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item G, the Athletics and Health Committee recommends approval of an increase of $1,500 for each varsity sport head coach, with the assistant coach being compensated at 75% of head coaches starting with the 25-26 school year, and I so move.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Blasi,
Yes?
Derland,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Jordan, yes, Murray,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
and Reese.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion carried.
Item H, the administration recommends hiring of the following coaching staff. 1, Jason Dickinson as varsity girls assistant basketball coach for the 24-25 school year. I apologize. Tolgetsky, okay. And item in 2, Brandy Tolgetsky as a varsity basketball cheerleading coach for the 24-25 school year. I so move.
Motion and a second on 1 and 2. We'll do 1 and 2 separately. Roll call, please.
Blasi,
Yes?
Derland,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Jordan, yes, Murray,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
and Reese.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion carried. Item 2, roll call, please.
Blasi,
Yes?
Derland,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Jordan, yes, Murray,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
and Reese.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion carried.
And that is all for athletics and health.
Awesome. Congrats to Jason and Brandy. I know we've been on the search for some open positions, so it's great of them to come forward. Good choices. No further questions. We'll move to buildings and grounds.
We've already, with the A, it's information, we went over that in a committee meeting. So I'll move on to item B, buildings and grounds. Committee recommends approval of use of school facilities request from the elementary basketball club for the use of the elementary school gymnasium weekly, Monday through Friday, from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. from November 25th, 2024 to May 1st, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's it for buildings and grounds.
Thank you. Move to curriculum.
Yes, is this is a motion or informational about the disposal of textbooks?
It's, I mean,
We can
generally
take it
they-
to a motion.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you.
Gotcha, I couldn't remember. Okay, item A, administration recommends disposal of textbooks, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
Heather, you want to share the conversation we were having about homeschool before the meeting started?
We were just talking about, what do we do with the books? Because it kills me to hear that a book's being tossed. So we asked Doug about that, and they said that the homebound schools or homeschooling are welcome to come and get even the newer curriculum and the newer books to use. But if someone had interest in the old books, that would be okay too.
Thank you.
With that said, and the availability of folks to come and take a peek at these, we'll move forward as well. And then after that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That is all for curriculum and student activities.
All right, move to personnel.
Item A, Personnel Committee recommends the hiring of Katie Rosenmartier as a homebound instructor for student 2230659-863, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. No questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The Personnel Committee recommends the approval of Michael Scott to be the advisor for the National Archery in Schools Program advisor for the 24-25 school year, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The Personnel Committee recommends approval of addition of Jody Metzger, Hunter Amer, and Elijah Geist to the list of approved event staff workers, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The administration recommends acceptance of a resignation from Marty Calvin effective November 14th, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Administration recommends approval to advertise for a learning support teacher, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I believe that's all for personnel.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll meet with the board and give a few minutes in executive after, just so that Lance and I can,
Get an update.
yep.
Awesome. Great. It's actually cool to see the archery program move forward. I know that's been kind of kicking for quite
Yeah.
some time, and I think
Glad he retired.
yeah, I think Mr. Scott, now that he's retired, we had to wait for him to retire so he could actually be the advisor. Not really, but it's cool that he's
I
doing that.
think, Katie, were there 16 kids?
14 or 16, and we will have an informational parent meeting on November 20th, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Good deal. It's good to see it move
If
forward.
anybody's interested in attending that.
All right. Policy and procedure.
The Policy and Procedure Committee recommends acceptance of the following policies for the first read. Policy 222, Policy 227, Policy 323, Policy 351, Policy 707, and Policy 815.1. And I so move.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Transportation Committee recommends approval of an addition to the list of approved parent drivers. I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Two informational items, the 2024-2025 E-Tran intent to transport students was submitted to PDE, and the Mildred Bridge project was finally completed on November 8th. So we can progress to utilize that versus going around or having other means. And lastly, the administration recommends the addition of Douglas Tennant to the list of approved school bus drivers, and I so move. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah, with that Mildred Bridge project, now there's a 4-lane highway going to the Thunderbird.
Support your small business.
I do have to say through that entire project that I thought they did a terrific job of keeping the road open, because with my parents being on one side and me being on the other, I have to drive across and drop my kids off and like drive back across, so like we drove over the bridge like multiple times a day. But I was worried that during the construction it was going to be constant, like having to wait there while they did stuff, but they did a super job of like keeping it open with the exception of the brief amount of time that there was the detour. But it wasn't like every day, like sitting there waiting for them to move the trucks and stuff. They were really like aware of when heavy traffic was going through, and I thought they did a nice job.
Cool. Thank you. We'll move to board reports. Mr. Reese.
No, nothing. I'd just like to thank Laura and Ellen for the presentation. I know you guys put a lot of work in, and it's nice to see all the opportunities our kids get, especially now, the dual enrollment. So, thank you.
Fitzgerald. Anthony.
Same thing Mr. Reese said. It's phenomenal seeing what you guys do. Sometimes we don't hear, and it's like, well, what really goes on? This is a tremendous amount of work, so thank you.
Shelley.
I just received an email from the Northern Tier Career Center today, recognizing, what was it, 7 students that were recognized for outstanding achievements for the first quarter. So, good job to them.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I learned a lot, I think. I'm also gonna ask my kids how their binder's going when I get home. So yeah, there was definitely some stuff that you think you as in us or even parents think they know what's going on, and some of the stuff you guys went over, I was wowed by. Also, I can't wrap my head around the hours that it takes to do the brief counseling. I mean, I was just trying to crunch some numbers on what if it took 10 minutes, what if it took 30 minutes, and it's your schedule must be out of control if there's that many. Yeah, so appreciate that, because I'm guessing they need that. Yeah, very cool stuff.
I just wanted to add a little bit to that, and these guys didn't mention it, but when you were approving the contract, Officer Reeves ends up helping a lot in some of those situations, especially following up with kids and checking in with them after they've been in crisis, and using Cora to Cora works a lot of hours, kids going for walks and stuff. But when you were listing the resources that we had available,
The compliment to him is that we didn't list him because we listed all the outside people that help us. He's one of us. So that's the compliment to him.
Well, you did include canine, but that wasn't in respect to a dog. That was in respect to kindergarten through 9. No, I mean, we really can't educate if the students aren't emotionally capable of receiving instruction. So that has been a major focus these last few years, and it will continue that way. With funding through PCCD for the social worker, additional school psychologist time, as well as funding of the materials that Mrs. Feaster has been providing to students, and we'll do whatever we can for the dual enrollment, hopefully, and our engagement with Commonwealth College or University as well.
That's pretty cool. Heather, anything to add?
Everything that they said, But also, I'd like to add as an informational piece that LAS is currently going to go through a psychiatrist switchover, and probably have decreased hours for the psychiatrists. So keep that in mind, that that will be a very limited resource in the near future.
Psychiatrist or psychologist?
Yeah, and that's-
Psychiatrists.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's
Okay.
different than like the school psychologist.
Oh,
They do
right.
have a psychiatrist that, that we have used, we've contracted, we haven't in a number of years, to do some individual, assessments of students, but they also use, psychiatric services for like the partial programs.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Mary Elise?
Yeah, I mean, everything that's been said, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I also, you know, from my work and my career, I see a lot of schools, like none of what they do is a given or like necessarily standard. Like we're very lucky to have the work that these two do. So thank you.
Mr. Murray?
So echo, thank you for the fantastic presentation. Great job. A lot of hours, a lot of work. And also, everyone that did the donations, I want to thank them well. And then student athletes, coaches, great fall year. Congratulations to all.
Awesome. If there's nothing else, any public input? Is there anything online that you noticed?
The last time we had online public input.
Like,
You have to
last year?
ask.
I know.
You never know.
like, I think like
wanna
October
miss anybody.
timeframe, maybe?
Oh, I did want to bring up, there were 276 views, I believe it was 276, of the Veterans Day program.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That was
that was-
pretty solid.
Yeah.
So that's more than we get for almost anything, so I was
That's
pretty.
awesome.
I know that Mr. Holcomb was spreading that around. There were a number of legions that were interested in that. And the additional materials that we had,
Bless you.
I took over to the Mildred Legion and the Dushore Legion. So, and those backpacks contained, you know, some treats, some patriotic things, but then they had student letters to veterans, and that's really what gets the vets, you know, they pull those out and kind of share them around.
It's awesome. That was good. All right. Nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right, board, if I can have you for a couple of minutes, we can run down Lance and I's